Ladies and gentlemen, vision is not a public performance. It's a private conviction. There is a reason why those who succeed at the highest levels often say little before they act. It's not because they lack confidence. It's not because they are unsure. It is because they understand the spiritual law of maturity, that what is conceived in silence is birthed in strength. When a seed is planted, it grows best underground. In darkness, in stillness, you don't see it pushing through the soil, but it is. And when it finally breaks through, it comes forth not as an idea, but as fruit. You don't applaud a farmer when he plants. You celebrate when he harvests. Successful people know this principle. They do not shout their dreams from rooftops. Why? Because dreams are vulnerable in their infancy. Like a newborn, a vision must be protected until it can stand on its own. Some of you talk too soon. You expose what should be covered. You share what should be prayed over. You broadcast what should be birthed in the secret place, and then you wonder why your plans stall. It's not because they weren't good. It's because they were uncovered. Silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. The quiet person is not inactive. They are intentional. They are working, building, refining, praying. They are aligning their plans not just with opportunity, but with purpose. They are not trying to impress people. They are seeking to fulfill destiny. The most dangerous thing you can do with a vision is to publicize it before you internalize it. What you speak too early, you empower others to criticize, distort, or delay. But what you nurture in private, heaven has room to endorse. Let me tell you something. When God gives you a vision, He often gives it to you alone. Not to your friends, not to your co-workers, not even to your family. So stop expecting everyone to understand. You don't need confirmation from man for what God already declared in your spirit. When the time is right, the fruit will speak for itself. No announcements, no explanations, just manifestation. When successful people choose to remain silent about their plans, it is not a sign of weakness, indecision, or a lack of direction. It is often a calculated and wise strategy rooted in their understanding of how premature exposure can lead to premature death of a vision. One of the most significant reasons for this silence is the need to protect their plans from premature criticism. A seed, when planted, is covered and hidden beneath the soil, not because it is of no value, but because it is in the most vulnerable and delicate phase of its development. In the same way, an idea or a goal in its formative stage must be shielded from external forces that have the potential to damage its growth before it takes root. Criticism has power. It may not always come with ill intent, but even well-meaning opinions can cause a person to second. Guess what was once a clear and strong conviction? When you share your plans too early, you open the door for others to plant doubt in your mind. And make no mistake, doubt is a silent assassin of dreams. You begin with confidence and then someone says, "That's too ambitious," or "Are you sure you're ready for that?" And suddenly, where there was once clarity, confusion creeps in. That is the power of premature criticism. It shifts your focus from vision to validation. People are often quick to judge what they cannot see the end of. They hear the idea, but they do not see the blueprint. They hear the dream, but they do not feel the fire behind it. They hear your what, but they do not know your why. And because they don't understand the full picture, they offer opinions based on limited knowledge. A visionary understands that some things must be nurtured in silence, not because of fear of failure, but because of respect for process. When you speak too soon, you allow others to speak into what they were never invited to build. They begin to influence direction without any understanding of destination. And in doing so, they unintentionally or intentionally begin to shape your steps according to their comfort zones, not your calling. That is a dangerous place to be, when your direction is altered by voices that are not assigned to your destiny. Silence is not simply the absence of speech, it is the presence of focus. It is the posture of someone who understands that vision is not for applause, it is for fulfillment. Successful individuals value clarity over clout. They are not driven by the need to impress others, but by the need to complete what has been divinely assigned to them, and they know that sharing plans too early can create pressure to perform instead of a commitment to purpose. Premature exposure also invites comparison. Once plans are made public, they are placed in the marketplace of opinions and measured against others. Suddenly, you are no longer walking your own path, but running in someone else's race. Silence allows you to walk in the uniqueness of your calling without distraction, without detour, and without the burden of explaining yourself to people who may never understand. Successful people stay silent not because they have nothing to say, but because they know that every word spoken about a vision costs energy. They choose to invest that energy into action rather than explanation. The time will come for speaking, for sharing, for unveiling, but it is not at the planting stage. That time belongs to stillness, to strategy, to secret labor, because they understand that what is built in silence cannot be shaken by noise. Silence is not merely the absence of sound. It is the environment where clarity, intention, and alignment can thrive. Successful people understand that keeping their plans to themselves allows them to maintain spiritual and mental focus. In a world full of voices, distractions, and constant noise, the ability to retreat into quietness becomes an act of discipline and wisdom. When plans are kept private, the mind is able to engage with the vision at a deeper level, free from the clutter of unnecessary feedback and outside influence. This focus is essential because every great vision requires space, not just physical space, but mental and spiritual space to grow, evolve, and solidify before it is acted upon. The most powerful movements in life begin in stillness. Nature teaches us this over and over. The earth spins on its axis in complete silence. Seeds germinate in silence. Even the human body forms in the womb without fanfare or announcement. These examples reflect a divine pattern that everything significant begins internally, not externally. Successful people tap into this principle. By remaining quiet about their plans, they give themselves the gift of uninterrupted focus. They are not constantly explaining, defending, or modifying their vision in response to every opinion they hear. Instead, they are able to stay aligned with their purpose and the inner conviction that birthed the plan in the first place. Distraction is one of the greatest enemies of destiny. It doesn't always come as chaos or crisis. It often comes disguised as conversation. When people begin to ask questions about your plans, they often do so without understanding the depth of your reasoning or the timing of your actions. The more you speak about something that is still forming, the more likely you are to be pulled into conversations that serve no purpose but to dilute your clarity. That is why successful individuals protect their mental space by choosing silence. Not out of secrecy, but out of stewardship. Stewardship is the recognition that what has been entrusted to you must be guarded and cultivated carefully. When a person is stewarding a dream or a vision, they treat it with reverence. They prioritize the development of that vision above the popularity of it. Speaking about plans too early may gratify the ego, but it often robs the vision of its power. When you talk too much about what you're going to do, the mind begins to treat it as though it has already been done. That false sense of completion can dull your hunger, reduce your urgency, and blur your focus. Silence, on the other hand, keeps the fire burning. It keeps the mind sharp, the heart anchored, and the spirit connected to the source of the vision. Focus is not simply about avoiding distraction. It's about maintaining connection to your original intention. When you keep your plans to yourself, you are more likely to remember why you started, what problem you are solving, and who you are meant to become through the process. External input, even when well-intentioned, can introduce alternate motivations, which subtly shift your focus from purpose to performance. Successful people avoid this by keeping their vision between themselves and the source that gave it to them, whether that is their own inner calling or divine inspiration. Mental clarity is a form of power. It allows a person to plan with precision, act with integrity, and make decisions that align with their long-term purpose, not just short-term approval. When others are busy making noise, announcing every step, and chasing affirmation, the focused individual is building, refining, and becoming. Silence is not a void, it is a vessel. It holds the weight of intention and the purity of vision. Those who learn to embrace it discover that their plans grow stronger, their steps become surer, and their execution becomes more effective. There is a sacred power in privacy. Successful people understand this, and they practice it not out of fear, but out of reverence for the vision they carry. They know that when something is truly valuable, it does not need to be displayed prematurely. Silence becomes their strategy, not because they lack ambition, but because they are preserving the strength of their purpose. The most meaningful plans are not shouted from rooftops. They are nurtured in quiet, away from public eyes, where they can grow without being tampered with. The power in privacy is that it gives a person the ability to shape their vision without distortion, without interference, and without compromise. When something is private, it is protected. Think about how a jeweler keeps diamonds in a secure vault, not in an open market. Not because the diamonds aren't beautiful, but because their value requires protection. In the same way, successful people treat their ideas like rare treasures. They don't expose them to everyone because they understand that not every environment is safe. Not every person will honor what you are building. Not every space deserves access to what you are creating. Privacy is a form of discernment. It is a way of saying, this is too important to risk for applause, too sacred to offer for public consumption before it is fully formed. The pressure to share everything has become normalized in a world driven by exposure. Social media encourages people to document every move, every goal, every decision. But successful individuals resist this temptation. They understand that the more people know, the more people feel entitled to offer opinions, judgments, or unsolicited advice. Privacy removes that burden. It gives the visionary room to think freely, to explore possibilities without fear of misunderstanding or mockery. In silence, they are able to remain true to the core of their vision because they are not adjusting it to please the crowd or to fit within someone else's expectations. There is a divine rhythm to accomplishment, and it does not begin with noise. It begins with stillness. A vision that is kept private is often the one that matures with the most clarity and strength. This is because the process is allowed to unfold organically, without interruption, without performance, without distraction. When everything is public, there is often a temptation to rush progress to maintain the illusion of movement. But when plans are private, a person can honor the pace of the process. They are free to refine, to fail, to learn, and to try again, without the fear of public failure or embarrassment. Privacy also builds internal confidence. When a person accomplishes something without announcing it first, they train themselves to rely on discipline rather than validation. Their sense of value comes from within, not from likes, comments, or external praise. This internal strength becomes a foundation for long-term success, because when storms come, when critics arise, when plans shift, that person is not shaken. They've built their work in silence. Their confidence is rooted not in recognition, but in revelation. And revelation does not require an audience to be true. The power of privacy is that it allows you to walk deeply with your purpose before sharing it with others. You come to understand the weight of your calling, the cost of your assignment, and the depth of your passion before anyone else sees the results. This deep connection forms a bond between the individual and their vision that cannot be easily broken. It becomes a source of strength during setbacks, a compass during confusion, and a shield against the voices that try to steer you off course. Privacy is not a lack of courage, it is a demonstration of wisdom. It is the space where transformation happens without distraction. Not everyone around you has pure intentions. Not everyone clapping for you is committed to your success. Successful people have learned, sometimes through painful experience, that silence is a shield against sabotage. They understand that premature exposure can make their plans vulnerable to those who may not support them, who may envy their progress, or who may actively work to derail what they are trying to build. This is not paranoia, it is prudence. It is the recognition that the world contains both allies and adversaries, and wisdom lies in knowing when to speak and when to stay quiet. Sabotage doesn't always come in the form of open hostility. It can be subtle. It can come through discouraging words, through people spreading seeds of doubt, through gossip, through intentional misdirection. There are individuals who, when they see you taking steps towards something meaningful, will feel threatened by the very idea of your progress. They may act friendly, but inwardly your growth confronts their complacency. Your ambition exposes their fear, and rather than be inspired to rise, they will attempt to pull you back down to where they are. Silence becomes your protection from such interference. By keeping your plans to yourself, you prevent potential saboteurs from knowing what to attack. Sometimes the danger is not even the person who opposes you directly, but the one who pretends to agree while slowly undermining your momentum. These are the voices that say things like, "Are you sure this is the right time?" Or "That's a little too much for you, isn't it?" They are not challenging your plan to help you, they are challenging it to hold you back. Successful people understand that such voices grow louder the more information you give them. So instead, they speak less. They move in silence not because they are hiding, but because they are building a fortress around their vision. Every great endeavor attracts resistance. It is a law of life. When you begin to shift into purpose, into discipline, into progress, there will always be forces, seen and unseen, that attempt to interrupt that journey. Speaking about your plans too early gives those forces a target. It makes your intentions visible before they are strong enough to stand. And once they are visible, they can be misrepresented, misunderstood, or manipulated. A wise builder does not announce the foundation. He lays it in silence. He only reveals the structure once it has form and strength. Sabotage is not always malicious in intent. Sometimes people sabotage your plans simply because they cannot see what you see. And because they don't understand it, they try to change it. They speak against it, they doubt it, they criticize it, but their lack of vision does not invalidate your calling. This is why silence is so powerful. It protects you from unnecessary conflict. It allows you to develop your ideas without having to constantly explain or defend them to those who were never meant to carry them. There are seasons where speaking too much can cost you everything. Speaking can delay divine timing. Speaking can awaken opposition before you're ready. Silence, on the other hand, allows the vision to mature in the hidden place. It is in that hidden place that strategies are formed, character is tested, and endurance is built. No saboteur can destroy what they cannot see, and no opposition can block what it does not know is coming. Successful people recognize the power of strategic silence. They understand that plans protected are plans preserved. They choose discretion over display. They understand that not all battles are fought with swords. Some are won by simply refusing to reveal the battlefield. There is a fundamental difference between speaking about success and living it. Successful people have discovered that actions carry a weight and authority that words often cannot match. They understand that it is far more powerful to let their results testify than to waste energy on explaining what they are about to do. This is why many of them choose to stay silent about their plans. It is not silence out of fear, but silence as a form of strategy. They realize that when people see results, there is no room for debate. Outcomes speak louder than intentions ever could. The finished product commands a kind of respect that speculation never will. When you constantly talk about what you are going to do, there is a risk of substituting the announcement for the accomplishment. The mind can become so satisfied with the applause received from merely sharing an idea that the actual work required to bring it to life becomes diluted. The temporary validation of "that's a great idea" or "you're really going places" can create a false sense of achievement. But successful people understand that vision is not validated by talking. It is fulfilled by doing. They don't spend time trying to convince people of their greatness. They invest their time in becoming great through focused execution. People often judge prematurely. They form opinions based on fragments, not the full picture. When you talk about your plans before they materialize, you subject them to incomplete judgments. You expose them to people who may not have the context, the experience, or the capacity to understand what you're truly building. Silence, on the other hand, allows you to complete the process before inviting the world into the result. It enables you to protect your energy and focus so that you can direct it entirely toward making progress rather than managing perception. Letting your actions speak is a form of quiet leadership. It is not loud, but it is deeply influential. It doesn't seek attention, but it commands it. People begin to notice without you asking them to. They begin to respect your discipline, your consistency, your results, because those things are undeniable. A loud declaration may grab attention for a moment, but a visible impact creates legacy. This is why successful people remain committed to their path in silence, knowing that when the fruit appears, it will silence every critic and answer every question. The power of doing over declaring also builds trust. When you repeatedly speak about what you are going to do but never follow through, people begin to take your words lightly. But when your pattern is to move silently and deliver consistently, your presence begins to carry weight. Your integrity becomes evident not because you've said the right things, but because you've done them. That kind of credibility cannot be faked. It must be earned in the quiet hours of dedication, in the unseen moments of discipline, and in the sacrifices that no one else witnesses. In a world obsessed with attention, the ones who truly make a difference are those who choose to build while others broadcast. They know that time spent explaining could be better used executing. They know that showing up with results is the most effective way to silence doubt, answer critics, and inspire others. Every action becomes a message, every achievement a testimony. There is no need to speak when the fruit of your labor speaks for you. There is no need to convince when the evidence is undeniable. Successful people choose the power of results over the noise of intentions. They stay quiet not because they are unsure, but because they are certain that when the time comes, what they've built will speak louder than they ever could. There is a time for speaking and a time for silence, and successful people know how to discern the difference. One of the greatest dangers of exposing plans too early is the risk of inviting pressure that the vision is not yet ready to carry. When a person announces their plans before the foundation has been set, they place themselves under an invisible burden to meet expectations, often before they've had the time to fully prepare. This pressure is not always imposed by others. It can also come from within. The moment you declare something publicly, a shift happens. It is no longer just your private conviction. It becomes a public commitment. And that shift can become a distraction rather than a motivator if not handled wisely. Successful individuals understand that every vision has a process, and that process cannot be rushed. It involves learning, trial and error, moments of refinement, and seasons of solitude. When that process is interrupted by external pressure to perform or deliver, it can lead to shortcuts, compromises, and burnout. By staying silent, they protect the pace of their growth. They allow the vision to evolve naturally, without forcing progress to impress others. Silence gives them the space to think deeply, adjust as needed, and align fully with the demands of the calling. When you announce something before its time, you unknowingly create expectations. Those expectations become weights. People begin to watch, to anticipate, to ask questions. How's that going? When will it be ready? Did you start yet? These questions, though often harmless on the surface, can create a sense of anxiety and urgency that drives you to act before the plan is mature. Instead of working from a place of peace and purpose, you begin to work from a place of pressure and performance. This is the danger that silence helps to avoid. It allows you to develop without explanation, to prepare without pressure, and to execute from a position of strength rather than stress. There is wisdom in waiting, not waiting in idleness, but waiting in preparation. There is power in letting your work grow in the shadows, in the hidden places where it is safe from comparison, competition, and criticism. Those hidden seasons are sacred. They are where confidence is built, character is forged, and strategy is shaped. Successful people don't fear the hidden season. They value it. They understand that premature exposure can be the downfall of even the best ideas. Just because something is true doesn't mean it's time to say it. Just because you're ready doesn't mean the environment is. Pressure can also distort the vision. When people know what you're planning, they sometimes begin to offer input that shifts your original intent. They start to project their ideas, their fears, and their expectations onto your journey. The vision becomes diluted, not because it lacked power, but because it became too exposed too soon. Silence preserves purity. It allows the original seed of the idea to take root deeply before it's influenced by outside forces. That rootedness becomes critical when storms come. A tree planted in secret has roots strong enough to withstand public storms. Working in silence also builds a kind of inner strength. It trains you to move without applause, to continue without validation, to persevere without recognition. That kind of strength becomes a foundation for long-term success. It's not built on performance but on purpose. It's not dependent on praise but on conviction. And when the time does come to reveal the work, it is revealed not with anxiety but with authority, not with hesitation but with confidence, not with performance but with proof. Silence then is not weakness, it is wisdom, it is not delay. It is preparation, it is not hiding. It is honoring the process required to carry something great to completion. In a world that constantly encourages noise and visibility, the most successful individuals have mastered the art of silence. They understand that the power of their vision lies not in the words they speak, but in the actions they take, in the focus they maintain, and in the wisdom of knowing when to remain quiet. Silence protects their plans from premature criticism, shields them from unnecessary pressure, and allows their ideas to mature organically, away from distractions. It cultivates a deep sense of purpose, guarding the integrity of their vision until the right time for unveiling. Through silence, they preserve their strength, refine their process, and ultimately deliver results that speak louder than any words ever could. The true value of success lies not in the noise we make along the way, but in the impact we leave when the work is done.